Hi, my name is Miriam Bernabei. I'm a volunteer here at Greenburgh Town Hall and the host of our show, Greenburgh Celebrates the Arts. It is my pleasure to welcome Jessey James to our program today. Jessey is a visual designer based in Westchester, New York, whose current work consists of acrylic painting and graphic design. She is a graduate of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute with a BS in Communications, Media, and Design, and her work is currently on exhibit in our second floor gallery here at Town Hall. Welcome, Jessey. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you first discovered that art was going to be an important part of your life?
Yeah, of course. I always have done art since I was young. I think, I started in elementary school. I had Miss Cronin. And then eventually she went into high school with me, and I took a lot of art classes there. I've always done art since I was a kid. I think high school was a defining career path in my art, and where I saw myself really gravitating towards it for a long time. And I would always get good compliments on my art, but I would say I've reached another milestone in my career as of now in terms of I see myself really wanting to pursue art more than just as a hobby. And because of the pivotal development time I've had since high school to now post-college, I think you go through a lot of emotions, I'm sure everyone knows. And I really have always fallen back to art, maybe not consistently, but in cycles of where in moments I've kind of really needed something to gravitate towards and to express myself. So I would say now has been the most defining moment where I can clearly see the start of a path to where art really is a comfort for me.
Yeah. And full disclosure, I'm so happy because I used to be the director of arts at Greenburgh Central School District, and you're talking about Greenburgh, and Miss Cronin is a wonderful, wonderful art teacher. It's so wonderful speaking with you. Now, your work is currently on display here at Town Hall. What can visitors expect to experience when they walk through the halls and see your art?
Definitely a lot of color. I think that's probably the first striking thing to see when you see the hallway. But also, I think when you take time with each piece, you can see kind of a lot more intimate moments that kind of develop the longer you sit with it and the longer you let your mind kind of wander through what each has to tell. They're all very different, I would say, and they all bring a different energy to them, but they're all cohesive in a message that may not be clear. It's also very personal and intimate to me, so maybe that's something that I don't expect people to fully understand, but I hope they can take away something of themselves that they see within walking through the hallway of each piece.
Yeah, do you care if somebody sees exactly what you were intending them to see, or do you have an intention that you want them to see that, or do you only care that they come away with something that they felt?
I think it'd be selfish of me to say if I really wanted them to see exactly what I wanted to see. I don't think, because not everyone appreciates art in the same way, I don't think that's the intention of art. It's selfish in that I want to express myself, but not selfish in the way that I really want other people to just kind of enjoy it. Decorate things with, you have a nice place, you decorate it. I just want people to appreciate in the way they want to. I think I find a lot of satisfaction in knowing that whether or not how they enjoyed a piece, that they enjoy it in general and they find meaning to it.
That sounds reasonable. Okay, I read your artist statement, and in it you write, words alone often don't carry the same amount of weight as what you're feeling. Now, was there a particular moment in your life when you realized visual art could express what language couldn't so well?
I would say it started in middle school, where I would do a lot of writing. I think I was first a journaler, and then I really gravitated towards art. And after having expressed myself in words enough to the point where they didn't bring as much meaning to me, and I had struggled finding new words and new phrases to really feel the emotions I was feeling so deeply, I started to see art as another opportunity to reach a different depth of emotions. I think that comes with any art in general. I think I've found a lot of satisfaction in the ways that I look to other art forms to express different versions of the same meaning. I think having that a lot of depth has benefited me in general.
Wow, that's great. You describe yourself as naturally short for words, and you've said you've become more of a listener than a talker. So how has being an observer influenced the way you create your art?
Yeah, I'm a pretty shy person. I think I have always been growing up, and I've kind of always, again, kind of going back to the thing where words have never meant the same amount of depth to what I'm feeling. And when you don't talk a lot and you kind of spend a lot of time developing this inner monologue, so to say, and you spend a lot of time with yourself, you just naturally start to gravitate towards how certain things make you feel. And I think you're a lot more in tune with your emotions, especially I think in a world full of so many distractions. I grew up in an age where technology has rapidly changed, and I see how much it has allowed me to become distracted.
Right.
I think taking the intentional time to really just kind of sit with my thoughts and not think so much about what I'm saying, but what other things are affecting me and how other people are affecting me. That has definitely been a big influence on my observation of what I see and what I feel, and I think really communicates that in the artwork, and I can communicate that through more visual means of motion.
Cool. One idea that really stood out to me was your appreciation for slowing down in a culture that's always rushing, and I rush a lot. So what does slowing down actually look like for you when you're creating?
I would say the first thing is when I'm getting really maybe frustrated with a work or a way things going and I don't know where to go, my advice that I would give to other artists as well is to turn off the music, because a lot of people create with a lot of things in the background. Right. My first thing would be to turn off the music and kind of really just sit there with yourself, maybe open a window and hear the birds outside, and just kind of really think about, what am I thinking right now? What are you feeling? And then in terms of, since I paint, like how is my movement translating into that? Really being observant of and aware of how your feeling translates into the movements you do. I think that's a really, really big factor. And it kind of gets you in a meditative state where you can get back on track and find a movement of flow in the work you're doing.
Yeah. It's kind of refreshing to hear that from a young person, because I remember the kids were always saying, I do my homework with the radio, well, not radio, probably, whatever, the phone, the CD or whatever. And it's like, I never understood that really, because you really kind of have to focus, I think, but that was lovely.
Thank you.
Has making art changed the way you experience everyday life? Have you applied that to your everyday life and experiences?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. And in a ways, maybe I feel a little isolated sometimes about, the way other people are perceiving art, but it's definitely made me, I feel like, see things through like a movie lens. They often dramatize like certain scenes or intimate scenes, so to say, that can feel so small in the moment. I look for those moments now, I think. I look for the quiet moments, even like I like to sometimes just go sit on a bench in a park and just listen to nothing, I think, and really feel that in the moment. So my appreciation for those moments, and I can't quite communicate well, but those are the moments that give me a lot of energy. And I really find so much value in that, again, in such a busy world. And I feel it so deeply. So being able to, because art teaches me to look through the world that way, that's how I see the world all the time now, or most of the time. Still slip up sometimes, right. But I try my best.
That's amazing. Your paintings invite viewers to notice quiet moments that go unnoticed, like you were just talking. And actually, there's a painting that we were looking at before. It's called To Be Forgotten. And in that painting, what was the ordinary moment that inspired that piece?
I would say it's kind of a culmination of moments, actually. I've always kind of felt somewhat isolated in this world, so to say. There's a singer I listened to an interview about, and she said, some people are just naturally sad. And I really, gravitate towards that. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, you kind of just feel isolated naturally, no matter what environment you're in. And I've come across that in many parts of my life. A lot of times in college, I had a good group of support, but kind of talked about like being in a crowd of people and you feeling so alone. And I think I cultivated several examples of that in my life, and it just felt very major into what I always feel every day, like in a very loud environment. I kind of just feel this weight of what the blue of the person feels. So that contrast, I really just wanted to communicate, I think, really influenced that piece.
Yeah, and I really noticed that how the color was bright orange in the back, and that felt to me like you were at a party or something, but the person was in blue and just very, and as you feel like we were talking before, often you're in a party because everybody's having that good time and being with people and other people and their friends, and then all of a sudden you feel, lonely. So that was very well captured, I think.
Oh, thank you.
Now, your background at RPI combines analytical thinking with creativity. So is there a piece in the collection where you see both sides of your mind working together to create a piece of art?
For sure. I would say there's a piece called Friends of the Sea that I went in with a sense of direction, so to say, or a sense in my idea of like, my general idea was like, I love the sea. I like the ocean. I grew up as a swimmer. The movement and experience of swimming is something I can't explain, but I had that idea, so to say, and I had, okay, I'm going to make it look maybe similar to one of my other pieces that I have up, a process, and start with that. But ultimately, I did want to let my intuition kind of go and see, what type of movement, what I was feeling, and really hone in on this exact feeling I'm feeling now. I just want to make art. What am I feeling right now? I'm going to make the movement of it. And that piece itself does have, I say, a lot of movement in the brushstrokes that is very whimsical, but also light, but heavy in the same sense. It's kind of in between floating feeling, and then the contrast of kind of these little trickles of whatever someone may interpret it as, of Friends of the Sea. But yeah, I would say that kind of brings about the start of an analytical process, but also the influence of something, really letting your intuition kick in.
Yeah. I love that picture because the movement, you really feel the movement, I think. It's just lovely. You mentioned, and you just talked about a singer, but that writing, music, and film all influence your work. Are there other artists in particular, whether they're musicians or filmmakers or writers, that have influenced your pieces?
I don't think I can hone on specifically one person because I have so many influences. I think in general genres, I've been watching a lot of Japanese or foreign films. I think a lot of the ones I look for relate to that sense of isolation. There's a lot of themes in Japanese films, or especially older ones. That would be my biggest influence. In terms of writing, it's all personal. So anything that, so to say, the sense of isolation all comes from my journaling. And with music, I listen to music all the time. I know I mentioned, trying to be in the moment sometimes, but I am someone who constantly tries to find music, even if I'm just going to do the laundry. And with that, I like to listen to maybe a lot more sadder music, so to say, but it does switch up in terms of what type of energy I'm feeling, and maybe I want to lighten myself up as well. So I would say I take a lot of different categories of influences. I wouldn't necessarily restrain myself to one thing because I think it doesn't give me an opportunity to be a little more open-minded.
Right. Is there a painting in the exhibit that feels especially personal to you? Like what's the story and what's the emotion that it holds?
I would say there's one piece. It's called The Figment of My Imagination. And in the picture itself, it depicts a person and two people together facing each other, and then they're above a reflection, but only one person has it. And in that terms of what I was thinking with that is I'm someone who's really big on my imagination, kind of lean on someone else who may not be real. So in terms of that, you look for ideas of an ideal person to so say to comfort you in certain moments, and the act of having to constantly lean on person in moments that feel heavy. And while they may not be real, they mean something to you, but in something that's real, such as water, then people might not be able to see that. So the sense of the contrast of feeling the weight of that person, but not having others understand it as well.
Yeah, I think the way you didn't give a reflection to the guy, that was really powerful. What do you hope someone carries with them after spending time with your work?
I hope that, again, it's a colorful feeling, a colorful group of paintings, that one, it makes people feel good, but I think for those who maybe spend a little more time with it, who get to see maybe some details, I hope they can find some way in relating to it, but also being able to kind of just think about, you know, what they feel, being a little more, again, kind of being attentive, so to say, what people want to do, and being a lot more attentive in life. Maybe, hopefully, by looking at the pieces, they not only feel good, but it gives them a different perspective or a different way of thinking to see life itself in their own experiences.
Has a viewer ever interpreted one of your paintings in a way that changed how you saw it? Like you didn't even think of that when you were making it, and suddenly they said something.
I can't recall a specific moment right now. I've definitely had moments where, you know, people, oh, this is my favorite for this reason. I'm like, oh, wow, like I didn't even think of the piece that way. But I had a friend, she's from Thailand, and I sent her a picture of my piece. And I think the moment she kind of hit it spot on what I was trying to interpret through the piece is a moment I can recall, like very vividly, because to be honest, I always kind of doubted whether, coming back from my analytical side, I've always doubted whether people would really understand what I'm putting out on my pieces. I think that's a bit of not insecurity, but I've had kind of a doubt I had when making art itself in the process of, you know, should people understand? Will people understand? But having at least one person understand something where I gave no context to was really rewarding. So I weigh more on that moment, just so to give me some reassurance with the art that I make in the future.
That's cool. All right, last question. If you could encourage everyone watching today to slow down for just 1 minute tomorrow, what would you tell them to pay attention to?
I would say kind of the same thing I said before, with terms of, you know, turn everything off and just sit with yourself for a little bit. I think if you can, maybe look at your favorite piece of artwork and just really understand and try to feel exactly how it makes you feel. I think, in a world, again, there's so much coming at us at once. Focus on one thing and really focus and pay attention to what your reaction is to that and the emotions that are there. I think that itself can just make a big difference in general. And if you can do it more often, that's great. But even 1 minute of your day, I think that's a big thing. I think art's very powerful in that sense.
I agree. And I'm going to try that. Thank you so much for coming. It's really been great talking to you. And by the way, you express yourself very well with words too. Just want to say.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
A big thank you to Jessey James. I hope you will all come to see her wonderful, thoughtful work. And as always, thank you to Paul Feiner, Sarah Bracey-White, and our wonderful video team, Terrence Brosnan and Sam Singer. Until next time.